Good morning, everybody. This is Phil. I'm doing a video today on coffee. As a prepper, I try to put my money where my mouth is, and I stock up on coffee. This is probably close to $500 worth of coffee, and it's not even the expensive stuff. So I'm going to describe today how to make the best coffee. If you have an open fire, that would be best. And to describe making Cowboy coffee in particular, it is the easiest way to make coffee, even compared to a French press or a Keurig or a regular coffee maker pot. Here I got my single set up. I got the water in there. All I have to do is hit the button, it flashes, and it warms up. Putting my money where my mouth is, I borrow these from the local 7-Eleven because I frequent 7-Eleven. I know a lot of people there, and I try not to usurp their gratuities, so to speak, their condiments and everything. I've done a previous video on their condiments, how a homeless person can make soup out of ketchup, and in essence, that's where my rudeness stops. I try to respect every store I go into. And when they got all these stacked up, these save you a trip to the store for the more expensive stuff. Okay? Because in this day and age, there is not that many just black coffee drinkers. There may be, but I don't get it. That's not my style. I like it cut down a little with a nice sweet creamer, and I pour it in and I let it sit. It's kind of like a black and tan. All the richer coffee is up top. It's kind of bitter, it's kind of sour, and then when I'm drinking to the bottom, that's when it gets more sweet with that free creamer. My favorite is hazelnut. My second favorite is Irish cream in the green tubs, and then my third favorite is this. I just grabbed a few, put them in my car. So when I'm at location working at a house, and they have coffees or a Keurig set up, I have my own creamer I can just pull out of my cargo pocket and go to town. So today, I did other videos about coffee, and I think I did a French press, those little single cup glass containers. You can do 1 cup, and all you have to do is add hot water and then press the dowel down all the way down so it pushes the coffee to the bottom. You can do other things like shake the whole thing up because it has a lid on top where the dowel is in the middle and you push it down. You can also shake it a little to make sure that all the flavor comes out of that loose, fine coffee. Much like Cowboy coffee, but Cowboy coffee is not hard to do. It might take a little bit more time than an electric coffee maker, or one of those pot coffee makers of old, since the 60s and 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s that we're used to. A whole pot of coffee where everybody can get a cup of coffee at once. We're used to that kind of sour, bitter kind of everyday coffee. And the Keurig has improved some things, but let's face it, the Keurig can overburn the coffee too at times, or make it feel like it's not 100% coffee. It's more like the cut. The cut of the bean is alive and well, and you smell that instead of the actual cocoa and nutty flavor of the coffee. So, I'm a man of my word. Here I filled a pot, okay, and I have this coffee lasts the longest, financially speaking, and I also have, let's see if I can get it here, for my Keurig single, I also have this one where I can put the donut shop coffee or my cheaper canned coffee in. So I can still get the Keurig type of quick use. So anyways, this you need for Cowboy coffee. It's going to be loose. I'm going to turn this up all the way. It's on high right here. See those flames? The trick to doing Cowboy coffee is you want this to heat up. It doesn't matter how fast it heats up. You want it boiling. You want the water in your big pot right here at the grommets. So you'll see that that's necessary because the water is not going to evaporate that quick no matter how hot it is. That's not the problem. The problem is when you make the best coffee in the world, okay, like I'm showing you, Cowboy coffee, you need water on the top, so when you ladle the coffee that's brewed on top and boiled, the grains eventually will be on the bottom, and you don't want all those grains. And there's also a trick to do that when you make this coffee. It's one of the simplest ways to make coffee, and it takes maybe 10 to 15 minutes, 20 minutes at the most. So let's set this phone. Okay, let's reverse the... Yeah. So this is on heat. When I was a DSP in Culpeper and my buddy's house who passed away for 7 years, one of the other DSPs who was a real jerk off, he would come in behind people and always remark about things that were not done or things that couldn't have been done because of emergency events with your client, just regular goings on, like you were cleaning a whole entire bathroom that somebody pooped on all over the place. So you're handling a BM. You couldn't clean the kitchen that last minute of the shift. And he brought in a French press. He said, well, yeah, this is the way to do it. And I was like, okay. So I did the French press thing, and it left too many fine particles in the separation of the grounds at the bottom, the dowel holding it down, and all the fluid up, which is the wonderful coffee. And then you pour the whole thing in your coffee cup minus the grounds. That French press had a lot of fine coffee bean material in it, and that itself left a bad aftertaste. You might feel the same thing when you do Cowboy coffee, okay? But this is something you can do for parties also. You have 3 or 4 good friends coming over, okay? Maybe it's not a dinner social, but it's a party where you have family and friends come over, and you know there's some coffee drinkers in there. Show them this or do this, and you'll never have any issues whatsoever. They'll always love coming and enjoying your good creamers, what have you, okay? But the coffee is what matters. They'll love your coffee most. Use this one creamer. I call it black and tan coffee when I do my coffee. And I pour the creamer in, and I let the creamer just sit. I don't try to shake it. Sometimes I will, where I want everything mixed in, all that creamer mixed in with every sip from beginning to end. But with coffee, it has different flavors. If you pour the good creamer in your cup, it's going to look black on top. The creamer's on the bottom. Just sip it. It doesn't have to be chugged. It doesn't have to be consumed super fast. People in America, we're a consuming society. So take your time with the coffee. Coffee is not supposed to be chugged when it's nice and hot. I have seen some references on YouTube researching coffee too that American coffee and the way we drink it hot is not the healthiest. I don't know how true that is. Warm, hot, piping hot coffee. It seems to me that, let me move this back over here out of the way. It seems to me that to get the flavors out of the bean, it would need to be warmed. It would need to be brewed. It would need to be extracted through warm temperatures, which is, I want to say, the main feature. Water would do that. Okay, hot water would do that. So I don't know, but this is delicious coffee. And what flavor did I use today? I forgot when I put this in earlier. Oh, this is the Rural King coffee. And basically, you'll see a little hole there. The Keurig shoots jets of hot water through here, and I'm assuming it's kind of turgid. Is that the word? It kind of circulates, and it's all freaking shaking in there. I'm trying to remember the word, but it then comes out of here without the grains. So it's pretty interesting. I'm not saying that Keurig is a bad way to have coffee. I got my single here, and that's how I drink coffee every morning. This is more something as a prepper. When you are in your own home, if COVID ever occurs again or something that scale where everybody is believing there's so much trouble that you have to stay in your house, I can only think of the horrific kind of scenarios. Okay. Sitting with coffee, and let's say electricity is still on and everything is functioning, but you just can't leave the house. Okay. Cowboy coffee may be the way to go because you have a heat source, you have some water, and you want to make a pot of coffee that's bigger than a regular pot that we're used to, those pots of coffee makers. But you can make a pot of coffee in this, let it cool down, and you have coffee for 4, 5, 6 days. If you're a heavy drinker, 2 days, 1.5 days. But delicious. I'll move this safely over here. Okay, when you're making the coffee, you see the bubbles starting to form on the bottom and how everything looks kind of sheen, white almost. Those are tiny bubbles. Okay. When we are making our coffee, our Cowboy coffee, you want those bubbles because as soon as it starts boiling, that's when you do the magic. And maybe by the video you can see some steam coming up. I got my big cyclone fan on out there to distribute the heat evenly, because the kitchen can actually get hot when you're running one open flame. And I experimented with keeping the flame open while I was boiling something. Like maybe I should try that more often, boiling water so the moist, warm air goes around this side of the apartment more. But my, God, I forgot the name of it. It's a cyclone heater, too. I have a cyclone heater. I forget the name of the brand. It might be Black & Decker, but it's one of those dish. All right, this is getting nice and bubbly here. So I have one heater on with the heat in my room, and the cyclone fan is distributing the heat all the way over here to the other side of the apartment. But it's colder today. Yesterday was warm and mild. I was like, oh man, turn off everything, save some electricity and money. And then today it's kind of colder this morning, like okay. The bigger bubbles are forming now in this pot. This is a generic pot, a cooking pot. This is nothing out of the ordinary. It's not super huge. I have those two. Those big stew pots. I got that too if I need it. I try to keep my kitchen I want to say user friendly with everything I need. I know where it's at. I try to get use out of everything twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. Its original purpose is there something else it could be used for, especially grocery bags, stuff like that. If I can, I don't live off of condiments. I have regular ketchup. I prep regular ketchup and condiments. Okay, at the regular store. However, I will snatch a handful of something sometime, throw it in my car because of my food intake on the go. Okay, let's see if we can expedite this. It's not even really expediting. It's the bubbles are forming, the water is hot. Okay, this thing doesn't want to turn now. Okay, so there it is. Boiling water. And there we go. It's not, the bubbles are starting to come up. That means it's close to boiling. It doesn't matter. It's hot enough now that when you put the coffee in, you want to put a good helping. And let it spin there. You can see those sparkles. Those are the bubbles coming up. This by far is the best coffee in the world. Researching the old days, and this guy Cookie, old man that still makes dinners and lunches and stuff for his cowboys on the range. I guess the ranch owner hires him, and he's a cowboy too, so that's his job, to feed the ranch hands. And he described this, and I always wondered, those metal stand-up coffee makers back 140 years ago, okay, in the old days, how did they do the coffee? Well, they poured the coffee in the bottom. They put water in those steel things that have the little triangular snout you pour from, and they boil the water with the coffee in it. And then there's a platform, so to speak, that keeps the coffee grounds from going into your cup when they pour the cup of coffee for you. Okay, and that must be an improvement, because I swear those tin coffee stand-up coffee makers didn't have that, because of the oblong sizes and shapes and what have you of the outside ribs, so to speak, the outside walls. Okay, so did they have really a platform in there where you put the coffee below that platform and that platform doesn't move? You know, I don't get it. But those coffee grounds, they're going to be going through a sieve like that too. Okay, and so Cowboy coffee had to be reliable, open flame. And if you have any kind of receptacle, whether pot, pan, or what have you, you're going to have to, now I'm stirring this. This is definitely starting to heat up. The bubbling started, so basically I can count 5 minutes from then. I don't have to do this longer than 5 minutes. Okay? But people would say, oh, well, there's too much grains in there. Well, you have to take into account physics, okay? Because the trick to making this great coffee is not done yet, okay? This is now mixing in. And it's all brown and darkish brown coffee. It's almost black. Okay, so it's all done. It's pretty much done. But how do you separate the water from all the grains? Okay, in other videos, I'm not sure if I showed this before, but how I learned by the Cowboy coffee making kind of way is, let me get, using cool water. Okay, I'm using the AquaPure water filtration system, which is behind the phone at this time. 1 minute. I shouldn't need all this water, but I'm getting basically like 60 ounces of water. Okay. Put that down right there. Okay, 1 second, please. Okay. That is hot. There are grains on there. You see the bubbles? Those bubbles are basically, I want to say, rotating the grains. And the buoyancy of the bubbles are, so, this, for all intents and purposes, there you go. There's the harder bubbling, boiling right there. You take cool water, all you got to do, that cool water is going to take all those grains to the bottom. Make sure your heat is off. So I didn't think about a lid. A lid is going to be needed when you store this back in your refrigerator. After everything is said and done, okay, this needs to cool down, and you can still use the ladle for your coffee. I think I'm going to use a clear plastic cup to show you how rich this coffee really is. As I drink my Keurig coffee, doing this video, hey, why not? Have some fun. Delicious. Okay, so I'm going to take the... so this big pot of coffee is going to, some of it could evaporate away. You're going to have to ladle a couple cups at a time. And I will drink this later on today, my second, third cup of coffee. Okay? The grains are on the bottom. So what you want to do is ladle your coffee. And you can see when you pour it in a cup, you can see if there's no grains that high up. And just keep on filling up your company's cups. We're like, wow, is that French press? No, sir. No, ma'am. Okay. Look at that. Rich coffee. Probably the best coffee a lot of your company will ever drink. It's better than freaking Panera's. Panera only has one coffee there. It's not the best. I don't know why they don't invest in more cultural coffee, but they don't. And Starbucks sucks. So that's my opinion. Okay, so you have a large pot of coffee, and I'm going to save this so it calms down and cools down. There's no more heat source to that. Ooh, that's hot. So I'm safe here. But look at this. Look at the beauty of that coffee. You cannot beat that. And let's try to reverse this. And 1 second. There are some grains on the bottom, but they're basically silty. They're not hard. And so when you have this coffee, it's still going to be the most flavorful, and you'll want to drink it all, even down to the bottom. You know, I've found grainier pieces of coffee in all kinds of Keurigs, including this one. And I'd be like, well, is that just part of the way it occurs? Can I deal with it? Does it bother me so much? No. You know, if I see too many grains or I feel it kind of gritty in my mouth, then I'll toss out that last sip. But I had a great coffee in the meantime. You know, I drank just about all of it. But look at that. You make that coffee on any party night with a bunch of coffee drinkers, you'll have converts. You'll have converts. And they're like, what? How did we do that? How did you do that? Look at that beautiful coffee. You can't make it better than that. So, anyways, guys, this is P. Francis McNichol, otherwise known as Phil's Cowboy Coffee, and I thank you very much. Have a great day.